Innovative approaches to examination, physical education in practice. When creating my lesson plans, I use the cooperative learning theory as my primary focus. This is the use of small groups in order to encourage students to work together to maximise their own and each other's learning. It involves people working in teams to achieve a common goal under conditions that involve both positive interdependence and individual and group accountability. It has been identified that when students work together, they show increased participation in group discussions, show a higher sophisticated level of discourse, provide more intellectual contributions, and engage in fewer interruptions when others are speaking. By working in a group, children learn to support each other's learning by offering support and asking for help when needed. The resource pack provides a variety of activities, both individual and group. By doing this, the students are able to work together by sharing ideas in order to achieve the same goal. By allowing the pupils to work individually for some of the tasks, it will encourage them to come together at the end and discuss their findings. Each activity is linked to the AQA GCSE specification, which gives the students an in-depth understanding of module content in order to prepare them for the examination. I have ensured that each activity transitions well onto the next in order to maintain fluidity in their learning, which in turn avoids confusion. Each session differs to the last. This is to ensure the students do not get bored and helps them to maintain interest throughout the lessons. I've included both theory and practical-based lessons to suit all types of learners, for example, visual, audio, and kinesthetic. An example of this is the balloon and labelling activity. The pack is also very flexible by providing extension tasks in case some students work faster than others. This again ensures they do not get bored whilst waiting for their peers and encourages them to expand on their knowledge. The choice of activities chosen are both group tasks and independent tasks, as the module itself is predominantly theory-based. By doing this, it allows the students to bounce ideas off each other in order to expand their knowledge surrounding the topic. Each lesson contains theory-based activities followed by a practical session, which again supports all types of learners. By doing this, it allowed me to teach theory-based tasks in practical ways in order to keep the students engaged throughout the lessons by making it more fun and enjoyable. The Department of Education skills underline how 14 to 19 is a critical phase in young people's lives. The 14 to 19 curriculum is described as a transition phase where children move from childhood to adulthood and from education to employment. The 14 to 19 curriculum was originally created in order to address the fact that individuals would leave education as soon as possible. This was most often the case when the end of the compulsory education was 16 years of age. With this in mind, New Labour promoted the view that education for young people should involve a smooth continuous phase of education from the age of 14 to 19 years of age in which young people feel comfortable to follow rather than leave at the earliest opportunity. After some research, this phase did not appear to be as smooth as hoped. This was due to the 14 to 19 phase consisting of the major education to work transition which takes place. For example, students at the age of 14 are forced to make career-related decisions when choosing their GCSE subjects. This can create a high amount of stress for the students as well as confusion, which in turn can result in them having a negative view on education. It is evident that the 14 to 19 curriculum is intended to prepare the students for employment when they finish education. This is why it's critical for the educational system to provide them with the correct understanding and skills for this transition to be more effective. Throughout the lesson plans I created, I've ensured that the pupils can work effectively as a team, which at the same time will work on their communicational skills, and contrastingly, some of the activities involve them also working independently. As well as this, the lessons will encourage the students to be able to work under pressure and under a specific timescale in order to finish their activities, which will help them with their time management skills. All of these skills are extremely valued within a working environment and will be looked for by future employers. So the cooperative learning theory, this is an instructional model that shifts the focus of learning to the student. One of the primary goals of cooperative learning is to ensure that each student becomes a meaningful participant in the learning process. Research conducted by Slavin in 1996 found that students who worked in small cooperative groups can master material presented by the teacher better than those who worked independently. As well as this, cooperative learning has social outcomes such as positive intergroup relations, the ability to work collaboratively with others, and the development of self-esteem. With a cooperative learning lesson, all students contribute to group work, meaning students rely on each other in order to complete the task. As the responsibility lies with the students, the teacher acts as a facilitator by offering help when needed. Although this method of learning has been proven to improve student achievement in most subjects, this form of teaching is not as often used as other forms of teaching. With this in mind, I decided to incorporate this learning theory within my lesson plans. One of the activities involved the students splitting into groups of 4. They all had to individually research the long-term effects of exercise and relay the information they had found back to their group. All the information gathered was then presented in a poster format. So within the school delivery, one of the activities we presented was a balloon activity. This is where they all had to work together to create the respiratory system, a model of the respiratory system, and it was a working model, so allowed them to see how it worked and functioned. By doing this, it kept the students engaged, allowed them to understand the structure of the respiratory system. I included discussions after the activity to ensure all students understood what the task was trying to deliver, and if they had any questions then, I was able to answer them and provide any support on stuff they weren't quite sure about. One of the issues when delivering my session to the school was the computer would not play the video on the projector. Thankfully, I had a few iPads lying there, so we were able to get the YouTube video on this, I think 4 iPads, split them into groups. They could all watch it then in their groups, so they could still watch the video, and that bit would still be included in the lesson. Some of the children did misbehave whilst watching the video. I think this could have been easily avoided if I'd put them into their groups rather than me saying for them to select their groups, because they did go with their friends, and I think that's why they then lost their interest and was starting to mess about a little bit.